Hi there, welcome to Create with Copper. Today I want to talk about how to rivet jewellery. Now riveting makes a cold connection to join your pieces rather than, say, soldering. So it's useful if you have patinas or finishes on your pieces that won't withstand the heat of soldering, or if you don't have the equipment or just don't want to solder. It can also be a decorative element in its own right, as on this bangle. Now there are several types of rivets. First, you can get ready-made rivets. These are used with a tool, one side of which makes the hole and the other sets the rivet. The result is a nice neat rivet, but the tool can be quite expensive, so it's probably a good investment if you use rivets often. But a great place to start is with wire rivets. These use short sections of wire hammered to create the rivets, and I'll show the process shortly. You can also use wire to make invisible or flush rivets, and I'll show them too later. Finally, there are fancy rivets, like these semicircles I made to add an extra decorative element to a piece. These are set in the same way as the wire rivets, but of course you only need to set one side. Now one other thing to talk about is the type of hammer to use. You can either use a ball peen hammer or a cross peen hammer. They have similar results, but are used slightly differently, so I'll show both. Personally, I find the ball peen a little easier and the cross peen comes out slightly neater, but that might be because I'm concentrating more and using a bit less pressure, so it really is a matter of personal preference. For this demonstration, I have these discs that I want to fix together to create a focal element that I'll probably use in a bracelet. The first thing I need to do is make the holes. Now I've marked where I want them on my first disc, so I'm going to use the centre punch to make a divot in the metal. This will prevent the drill skidding around on the metal. Then I'm ready to drill the hole. I'm using 1.6mm wire for the rivets, and I want this to be a snug fit in the hole, so I'm going to use a 1.6mm drill bit. And I've got some scrap wood underneath to drill into. There might be just a little bit of excess metal that's pushed through, so I need to file that off. I'm then going to make the hole in the second disc, so I'll position the two together and mark through the hole so I know where I need to drill. Then I'll centre punch and drill the holes as before. Now it's time to thread the wire through, and you'll see I've already got a flush end to the wire. I then want to cut it so there's about 1mm of wire on each side of the metal. I find it easier to judge 2mm on one side and then cut flush to the other side. Then I need to place it on the block and try to keep the wire in position. If it falls out, it's not impossible to get back in, but it is quite fiddly. Now we need to hammer the rivet, and I'm going to show you the ball peen hammer first. If you think of this as a close-up of the end of the wire, you need to hammer around the edge in a circular manner, so you're pushing the copper outwards. So in practice it looks like this, and you don't need to use much force. Once you've got one side started, turn it over and do the same on the other side. Then keep turning it to keep it even on both sides. The main aim is to only hit the wire, not the metal. If you want, you can keep it a bit textured and a bit domed, or you can finish it with the face of the hammer to flatten and smooth it. Now I'll show you the cross peen hammer. I've drilled the holes and cut the wire as before. For the cross peen hammer, instead of hammering around the edge, you're hammering across the centre of the wire end and turning it as you go. So each hit is about 45 degrees from the other. You still don't need to hit hard, and hammer each side in turn. Finally, you can then finish with the flat side of the hammer. As you can hopefully see, there's not much difference between the two rivets. Finally, I want to show you the flush rivet, and I'm going to add another disc with this method. So I've already marked and drilled the holes as before, but then before you add the wire you need to countersink the holes. If you think of a standard wire rivet having a side view like this, for the invisible rivet we need the surface to be flush with the surrounding metal. But if you just filed off the rivet heads, the wire will just fall out. So to prevent that, we countersink a hole in each side so the rivet will still hold the metal sheets together. For this, I'm just going to use a ball burr. And this is a 2mm diameter burr. And don't forget, you only need to do the top and bottom of the sheets that you're putting together. You then add the wire as before. You might need a little more wire to fill the countersunk area, but any excess needs to be filed off, so you don't want too much. The right amount is a little bit of trial and error. You then hammer the rivet as before, and then file off the excess. I've got a little sanding drum here for that, you could do it by hand. And then polish the surface, and if you've filled the hole evenly, you should find that you can make the rivet disappear, making it invisible. I need to do a little bit more polishing here, but I haven't filed the back yet, so you can see the rivet is there and this isn't just some camera trickery. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please click the like button below. Don't forget you can subscribe to my channel and head over to my website for more hints, tips and projects. See you next time.